Good evening. This is Pastor Don Wolf, Cornerstone Worship Center in Vestaburg, Michigan. And we're broadcasting from Leavenworth, Kansas. And we just completed our first service of the 2023 ABA conference. And we found out that there's a man here who has had a very exciting experience with the Lord. And we want to bring his story to you. And his name is Ken Woodward. And we just met a few minutes ago. But you know something? We got something in common.
That's right.
That's the Lord Jesus. One of these days we're going to be brothers eternally.
That's right.
In a wonderful place. So I'm just going to look at him, and I'm going to sit back and relax at least for a while and let him tell his story. It's the story that many of you will recognize because you went through it.
Yeah.
And it excites me when I see somebody come home. Yeah. And so, Ken, why don't you just
Sure.
begin, and I might ask you a question occasionally.
Sure. That'll be fine. So, yeah, I was probably like most youth, growing up in church and growing up, attending church and our family going. I originally got saved at around 10 years old, and was just part of the community, part of the kids. And when I was 16, I attended a church service, and this is when I really gave my life to the Lord. At 16 years old, I felt the calling to minister, and there's a lot that you have to learn, and there's a lot of things you're unsure of, and I spent a lot of time. We had a large farm, and I spent a lot of time driving a tractor and just talking to God.
Right.
And just trying to understand, what is it that He wants for my life, and where are things going to go. So He called me at 16. I spent time in a small church with a great pastor by the name of Bill Siren. He's gone on to be with the Lord. And in time, I became the assistant pastor there. I went to Galesburg, Illinois. That's where Anchor Bay was doing. Yeah, back in those days. Yeah. So this was clear back in 1980, and I went there and joined the Anchor Bay Association, became an ordained minister, and started my life. As what happens to many of us, life happens, things happen. You go on trying to find ways to make an income, to take care of your family. You reach points sometimes in your life when you start arguing with God. He's there, but you kind of start drifting away.
Maybe I'll win this time.
Yeah. And you drift farther, and so I've spent 40 years, and I will tell you I've had a very blessed life. Even though I was not attending church, I knew God. I prayed. I never walked away from Him. He never walked away from me. But I'll say it like this: I kind of walked away from the call.
Yes.
And earlier this year, the Lord works in a very mysterious way at times. I have a huge interest in things. Just anything that comes up that I get an interest in, I dive into it. And I got really interested in understanding the giants that we had, the Nephilim, and here comes the Nephilim and that whole process. And there was this one little video that kept scrolling up, and I'd push it off. I go, I don't want to see that. And it was a gentleman's story of his 23 minutes in hell. And I'd pass it off. And I went on and I studied my videos. And there was a period of time where, I wrestled with God about the concept of hell. And I had drifted away from it, trying to justify, hey, we're all good.
All right.
We all go to heaven. So that little video kept popping up. And one night, for whatever reason, I punched it. And, I can tell you that God cultivates the field, and He knows when you're ready, and He keeps bringing you and drawing you closer. And so when I saw that, I got down and said, I'm going to rededicate my life to you. I don't exactly know what that means. I'm sure He does.
Yes.
But what it means to me is that, I'm not going to fight it, and I'm going to find ways to minister. I do have a technology background, and I'm going to find ways that I can reach out and minister, and even if it's one-on-one, whatever I can do to help somebody else dedicate their life, rededicate their life, or for them to find the Lord. In this process, I did one of the toughest things you ever have to do as a parent. I had to type up a nice text to my boys, and I sent it to them, and I said, if there's anything I've ever done to imply that there's no hell, or that you just have to be a good person to go to heaven, I want to apologize. You need to know God.
That's tough.
And I said, whatever you do, it's time to get right with God. Get in church. And that was tough.
Yeah.
Tough to do. But I sent it to him. I got good response back. And I've noticed that, there's a stirring, because I feel like with all of our kids that I think they're realizing that there's a change in me, and that something good is happening, and they're watching.
Oh, yes.
So we're going to keep praying and keep studying. I view this as a season to just get anchored.
Okay.
Get anchored in the Lord.
Right.
Get anchored in His Word, and just be ready for whatever comes next.
And I think when it happens, you'll be totally surprised.
I may be.
Now, you're a farmer?
Well,
Or you just,
you
got your property?
Yeah, I grew up on a farm. I work in technology now, but I grew up on the farm. We were full-time. We worked hard. We still have the farm.
Mm-hmm.
Raise a few cattle, raise a few sheep. More. I'd call it a hobby, but it's awful expensive.
Oh, yeah. Especially the vet bills.
Yeah, vet bills can be up there, but
I'm trying to,
it's a lot, isn't it?
yeah, no, I'm just trying to think of how to word it. Do you know what caused you to finally understand that God has something more for you than what you got?
I think at some level, I've had a lot of God inside me,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had some very times of very blessed, very conversations, things, and these are conversations with the Lord, and just a lot of information that I had learned over time, and I think it's really more of just surrender. It's coming to the realization that God's been good to me, and now He wants me to come back. I talked to Brother Keith and I said, I feel like the prodigal son.
Yes.
And, having
You
known
were.
God, yeah, and I've spent 40 years, and I've looked, and again, it's not like I didn't do anything during those 40 years. I did a lot of things, and I did a lot of good things, and but I also wasn't walking maybe exactly in the light that He would have me walk in. So I think that was just coming to that realization and saying, you know what, your life can have more purpose than what it has right
Yes,
now.
there's the key.
So let's surrender, get back on track. And I think that's part of my message for many out there. I mean, as I sat and I thought about this and I said, okay, Lord, why? Why now? Why me? And I think at some level, there's many, and I'll say us, there's many of us who have been part of the church, who have had an experience with God, and through life, we have drifted away. And I think we're in a time that God is reaching out and He's wanting to call everybody back.
Yes,
And
I agree.
and if that's part of my calling, is to just help others know that they can reconnect with God.
Yes.
and get back on track with Him, then that's what it would be.
See, I think too many times we look and say, well, there's a superstar in Christ, there's another one. Well, maybe God hasn't called you to be a superstar, but He's called you to be who He says you are.
Yeah.
And
No, you don't have, and I think that's what, Brother Keith was saying tonight. It's like, it's not about, being the, minister of a 10,000,
that's
passenger.
10,000 problems if you have that.
That's true. But, and there's, everybody has a place.
Yes.
And what's your place? And I'll actually tell you, my strongest feeling is I want to really be a light for my family and my extended family. And I want to bring all of them and make sure that when we go to heaven, they're all there.
Yes.
And so if that's my purpose, is to help bring my family together, then you know what? Then it's a worthy cause.
In the eyes of heaven.
Yes.
Question you don't have to answer.
Okay.
Is your wife in the same level?
Yes.
I mean, she's with you all the way, supporting you.
Absolutely. We got to, and again, I was baptized and stuff a couple of times way back in the journey, but she actually helped, start. And she'd been saying for the past, 4 or 5 years, we should go to church. And I was like, yeah, been there. We should go. And I go, I've been there. I can tell you about it. I've read the Bible cover to cover. But she quietly just said, maybe sometime we should go, maybe. Well, as things would happen, we, as I went through and rededicated my life, she too has dedicated her life, and we both got to be baptized again together. So we're very much, working as a team.
Just briefly, I'll let you know that my wife died, but I got remarried. But that wife and myself, we got baptized together. I had been baptized, but she hadn't, so we did it together, and that's something different and special.
Yeah. No, it was really great, and we are both very, very supportive of each other, and we have, we each have our online ministers that we like to listen to and follow, so we do that, and no, it's good.
You say in electronics. What do you do in electronics?
So I'm in the IT. I've been in IT for over 30 years. So working, overseeing, etc. projects. But yeah, working in IT.
Because when it comes to electronics, you're looking at a total fool. You didn't have to shake your head.
That's all right. Well, and that's what, he kind of mentioned that, you know, church may no longer, I don't want to say no longer, church in our age has really expanding past what the four walls are.
It should be.
We're studying about, I say study, I research things, and, we can look at the fact that the amount of information we can store today is incredible. I mean, terabytes, petabytes, exabytes, zettabytes, a lot of bytes. I mean, it's a lot.
Correct.
So, but it's kind of where we are as a society, as a advancement of humanity, and there's generations of folks out there that have never been in a church. You're part of those that have. I'm part of that grew up in it. But I think today we've got to find ways that we can go out and meet them where they are, and a lot of them are on the phone.
This is one way.
Yeah.
I think it was about a year ago. We got a big ministry in Africa.
Yeah.
And they requested that we broadcast one of our services through Zoom.
Yeah.
And she set that up because, I can just spell Zoom and that's it. and it took, I don't know, 3 or 4 months before. One thing, their systems are slower than ours.
Mm-hmm.
So it created some problem. But that's what
I know.
we do.
No, there's ministries online today that, they've got thousands of people are being saved in other countries, and it's, they're here broadcasting it.
Yes.
So there's no one way, and there's no only way. I think we go to, whatever way that a person is ready to receive the Lord, whether that's through a Facebook, or whether it's through a YouTube, or whether it's just ministering, person to person.
Yeah, we, like right now, well, I would say, should say right now, because this isn't going on the air yet, Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
We have quite a few people who
Really?
watch in Pakistan, yes. So we're going into areas that I never thought we could.
Wow.
Simply with that thing that she's holding in her hand, or telephone. But we do have a camera, but we don't bring that with us.
Yeah, there's I think they went through, and I forget the statistics on this, but there's about 7 billion people in the world,
Yeah.
but there's about 2 billion phones out there. So we may not be a phone for every person, but there's a phone in about every household.
Right.
And so it's really, no matter what the country, they have a way and a place to get phones charged and to use them.
One other thing that we do, there's a pastor in Saginaw who's been on television for years and years, but
Mm-hmm.
he's gone using this along with TV, and we go over there and work with him. He puts on a panel, and we discuss different subjects. And at last I heard, he was saying about 700,000 people throughout the world watches those programs, and
Wow.
that's exciting.
It is. It
Yes.
is. It's amazing. I mean, this is, if you go back 40 years, go back to 1980 when I first joined Anchor Bay. There wasn't anything. You had Billy Graham, and you had Oral Roberts,
Right.
and you had big organizations that were broadcasting
Right.
on TV, but it's not like it was something that was available to everyone. And today, it really is.
And first time, I think it was 1980 that I went to Africa, and the only communication we have is shortwave.
Mm-hmm.
When you get out in the bush. Nowadays, everybody walks around with those telephones.
I know.
So at least the field you're doing in, we know the devil's trying to misuse it.
Yeah.
But God, I believe, is at this time is talking to the churches, start using it. Let's beat the devil at his game.
Well, it's a tool. All tools can be used for good or can be misused.
Yes.
I mean, that's where it's at, and it doesn't make it any better than something else. I look at it. It's a way. It's a way of connecting and a way of communicating,
Yes.
and this wasn't even possible 30
Oh,
years
yeah.
ago.
Right.
So we've come a long way.
You're at 20 minutes.
I mean,
You're at 20. Yeah.
20
Mm-hmm.
to go.
No.
Oh.
We've been talking for 20 minutes?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, these go. We do this. We do a
Do
teaching.
you edit that down so
No.
that, oh goodness.
No, we go a half hour. We also do a Bible study,
Mhm.
a half hour Bible study panel. We do everything panel, and then we also what else do we do?
The services.
Who?
The services?
Oh yeah, and then we do all of our services.
Hmm.
And,
Right.
But I'll be honest about it. I would like to be able to get the proper equipment so we could edit.
Right.
And that way we could do, we had an offer about 4 or 5 months ago from Pakistan to go on their TV, and they would take that out to 30 countries. And this is
Wow.
in Muslim. I mean,
Right.
think what a
Yes.
great. But in order to do that, we had to half our program.
Right.
And so now we're talking about editing
Yeah.
and everything, and then we talked about, first of all, we couldn't afford the equipment, but more importantly, we haven't got the people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it takes people to knowledge this.
You got to do it well, and you have to have the ability to edit and remove all the
Yeah.
the uhs, the ahs,
Yeah.
the stutters.
Yeah.
Try to get it down and say, hey, here's the message, and stay focused on the message.
Who knows, maybe tomorrow, because of your background,
Mhm.
you might find yourself into that area in some way.
We'll just we're just going to see.
Right.
It may happen. I trust that the Lord leads and He has a plan. So we'll just see
Oh,
where that
yes.
takes us.
Everybody's got a plan.
He does. He does.
And
We all have a purpose.
yes. And the exciting thing is, when you get in that place, then life is so exciting.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I think we're going to, because
Yep.
we need to get elsewhere. But I would like you to finish just speaking to them, whatever is on your heart.
Okay. Well, I'd say anybody that's listening to this, and I'm going to say especially if you've once been in the house of the Lord and you've drifted away, and you know that you've had a calling to come back. It's okay to be the prodigal son. God has a purpose for you. Come back and start working for Him. Amen.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next week.